Oh. Sorry about that. I am getting my drink ready. Sipping a little something off camera. Oh shit, hold on. All right. Hopefully the sound is on. It should be. And welcome back to the Larry Coyote Show. So it has been about 4 weeks, I think. So my apologies for my prolonged absence. As you know, I have a tendency to start and stop. This is kind of a hobby. There really wasn't much to do. December was a really busy personal and professional day for me, and because this is something that I elect to do as for fun, sometimes when you're really busy, you don't have time to focus on the fun as much. So, but I did do you guys a favor. I had you tune into the right fights. I trust that most of you, hopefully, tuned into what were we talking about last? The Chavez fight. Fuck. Chavez arguably did worse than I expected. If you to recap that. He actually started off well enough, but as many of you know, he I think he came in about 5-6 pounds overweight. Strike one. Gave up $1,000. No, not $1,000. $1 million out of his actual payday for violating the weight agreement. I appreciate the fact that Daniel Jacobs was game enough to actually proceed with the fight and continue going. So Jacobs was doing a little bit of dirty elbow work on the inside. Chavez was being himself, usually leading with his head. Many of you already know this. Truth be told, it does look like he actually broke his nose. Did he break it significantly enough to actually step away from the fight? In my opinion, no. He actually should have continued. So I don't know what to do or say to a guy who doesn't want to fight anymore. He probably shouldn't fight anymore. And any criticism is probably valid. So one of the things that I didn't really like about Chavez that time was the next day he started going out on social media and doing the most. He said something like he made Jacobs look worse than Canelo did. Probably because he landed some hard punches. But you can't actually make that statement unless you win the fight. One of the other things he said, he challenged him to an immediate rematch. Would be a smart move if Jacobs actually decided to take him up on the offer. Truth be told, I'd probably see it ending exactly the same. Not exactly the same, but with a similar result in that Jacobs wins, Chavez loses. Yesterday or today, I think I heard him announcing or trying to call out Triple G. I think the time is ripe for him to actually take a Triple G fight. One major thing about it, though, is I believe Triple G fights at 160 or 154, and Chavez hasn't been. I think the last weight he made was at 170, so it would have to be one of those things where Triple G agrees to actually move up in weight. Hasn't done so ever in his entire career. He's one of these guys that, although he was incredibly dominant in the weight division, hasn't actually taken the bold steps to move up and fight bigger guys. So that would be something that I would appreciate Triple G actually undertaking. I don't see it happening, and I think he's getting towards the twilight of his career. So I don't know. Do we see Chavez Triple G in 2020? I think it's highly likely, actually. It's a good money fight for both guys, and I think that both guys would probably put on a good show. I'll say that. It would likely end with Chavez knocked out on the ground, and who doesn't want to see that? So, all right. So pivoting away, I don't know how I got distracted. I was actually wanting to talk about what's coming up. Today is Friday, January the 10th. This is a good weekend for fights. We're having Jaime Munguia and OSullivan, the Irish dude. I forget his first name. Is it Kyle? Um, Anyways, it's Munguia versus OSullivan on the zone. Really good fight. Munguia's moving up in weight. He's a title holder, has successfully defended most of his fights. Some of the fights he's actually squeezed by, taken a lot of punishment. He takes a lot of hits. O'Sullivan's one of the harder punchers in the division. I think he only has one loss on his record. He got his ass beat pretty quick by the Canadian dude, Lemieux. So that was last year. That was probably the only time I've seen him look really bad. For the most part, Gary who? What's up, Jerry? Homie Jeremy's checking in. What's up, man? So that was actually one of the few times I'd seen him. Gary O'Sullivan, yes, thank you. That was one of the first times I actually seen him look bad. But for the most part, he's one of the more entertaining fighters, and I do like to see him. He's got the hipster mustache. I like the dress. He does. He kind of does this whole mobster-looking, suit wearing hipster mustache thing. Munguia's one of the. He's probably the one of the better fighters to come out of Tijuana, which is a very renowned city for boxers to come out in quite a few years. So he's definitely putting Tijuana, Mexico on his back. He's got the belt, doing the work. He's done very well. How's it going, Jeremy? Shout out to my homie Jeremy for tuning in. So anyway, okay, so that is tomorrow, January 11th. I believe it's happening at 7 p.m. on the zone. Don't miss that fight. It should be a really good one while it lasts. Munguia has looked like he has had some weaknesses. However, he's still undefeated. He's got the big boys in promotion, Golden Boy behind him. Golden Boy also promotes O'Sullivan, so the fact that they're putting two of their prospects on a head-to-head collision to me is pretty exciting, and I like the fact that they've gone out on a limb and taken that sort of chance. I honestly think that there's a good chance that O'Sullivan could knock out Munguia, and we will end up with an upset. Munguia is kind of being groomed to be one of the next Mexican superstars, but he's shown a lot of weaknesses, particularly when it comes to defense. So to me, I could see O'Sullivan cracking him really hard and possibly knocking him out if he can hurt him. I haven't seen Munguia get hurt yet, but because he's moving up in weight and he's fighting a harder puncher, I think it's definitely a real possibility. So that guy, therein lies the intrigue for tomorrow's fights on Saturday. So tune into that on the zone. I also saw that tomorrow as well, Top Rank is actually having their own fight card on ESPN. Starts at 7, and it's Jesse Hart, which he's got a record of 26-2 with 21 knockouts, versus Joe Smith Jr., who's got a record of 24-3 with 20 knockouts. So 21 knockouts versus 20 knockouts. These guys are pretty evenly matched. One's got 26 wins, one's got 24 wins. One's got 2 losses, one's got 3 losses. One's got 21 knockouts, one's got 20 knockouts. They're both 30 years old. Honestly, it doesn't really get any better than that. So if anybody remembers Joe Smith Jr., he's the guy that actually is from New York. He works for the union, so he's got that whole, union strong thing going, and he plays that up. I think it's a good promotional angle to come from. He is probably most notably remembered for being the guy that knocked out Bernard Hopkins. Not only knocked him out, he knocked him the fuck out, right out the ring, and retired him. Hopkins had no he had no business being in the ring. I think he was in his late 40s, 49 possibly. It's props to him for actually taking the fight. But he got knocked out the ring, like literally out the ring. If anybody actually sees that fight, it happened about 3 or 4 years ago. Um, he was on the ropes and he leaned back so hard and took a big punch that his legs went flying over like that. So, um, anyway, that's happening tomorrow. So I've just recapped this weekend's fights happening Saturday the 11th tomorrow. Um, Jaime Munguia versus Gary O'Sullivan on DAZN, and Jesse Hart versus Joe Smith on ESPN. Both of those should be pretty good. I would probably tune into DAZN first and ESPN second. Or if you actually, you can go back and watch the DAZN replay. So maybe ESPN first and DAZN second. I'll leave it to you to internally battle how you want to approach this. Furthermore, let's see. Later this month is one of the bigger fights. Actually, no. Really? Is that really happening? Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and go say it. Um, January 30th, if I'm getting my date correct, it is Super Bowl weekend, and I've been hyping up this potential fight for probably close to 6 months because that's how long the show's been on. Tevin Farmer versus Jojo Diaz. These are two of my favorite guys. Farmer's a defensive specialist. Jojo's active. They're both the same age, same weight, both champions. Um, one's Mexican from Southern California. I believe Tevin Farmer is from Philadelphia, so he's a Philly fighter. This is like a mouth-watering matchup for me. It's probably one of the dream matchups that if I could wave a magic wand and put it together, I put these two guys in the ring. Jojo's been calling out Tevin for a while. Tevin is the type of guy that likes to take fights, likes to stay active. I believe he fought 3 or 4 times in 2019. And they're pretty evenly matched. I might give, honestly, it's a 50-50 fight. Worst case, it's 51% for Tevin, 49% for Jojo. But Jojo might hit harder. Tevin might have better defensive abilities. So I believe that's on DAZN. Please tune into that if you can. This is one of the better fights to watch, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Before I talk about other fights, um, let me talk about my favorite fights in 2019, and they're not the ones that you will expect. I would say below the radar kind of fights. I really like Chris Arreola versus Konatski, the Polish dude. I think they fought in Brooklyn. One of my favorite fights by far. If anybody has a chance to go back and see that, please do so. Also, Tony Harrison versus Jermel Charlo. That happened about 3 weeks ago. It was actually one of the better fights. But you almost have to pregame that fight by watching the press conferences because it makes it better and funnier. Tony Harrison stole or took because he won the fight, Jermel Charlo's belt. Jermel Charlo was fucking pissed because he thought he deserved the win. So an immediate rematch was ordered. Right before the rematch occurred, probably a couple weeks before that, Tony Harrison, who's from Detroit, hurt his ankle. Jermel Charlo wasn't having it. He was saying that he was faking it. He was holding his belt hostage. Didn't really want to fight him. So Jermel Charlo went on and actually fought a last-minute replacement, knocked him out, I believe, in the second round. Tony Harrison showed up to the fight. He was smirking from the sideline. Jermel Charlo is very, 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 very passionate to the point where it's almost comical. He was so upset, he looked like he wanted to cry. So during a lot of the press conferences, I mean, I couldn't stop laughing. And I'll be honest with you. I think I posted some stuff on my Instagram. If any of you guys happen to have one, you can find me, Larry Coyote. I sometimes, every once in a while, when I find funny things related to boxing to post, I will do so, as well as a bunch of other things, mostly Aztec related. But you should definitely take a look at, if you're going to watch the Tony Harrison versus Jermel Charlo, I recommend you first pregame and prime yourself for the main event with some watching of the press conference, because it's really funny to see them go back at it. One calls the other a hoe ass N-word. The other one says, if you're a real N-word, you're gonna do something right now. There's more. I'll stop there because I really don't want to necessarily go there. I just want to put I want to put you on so that you know how funny it is. Okay, who else is coming? I got some notes here, so give me a second. Oh yeah, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder is gonna happen February 2nd, or is it February 22nd? So let's see. Fury, February 2nd, or is it February 22nd? So let's see. Fury Wilder 2. When is it? Venue date. You literally have to click February 22nd. Okay, so that was a typo on my part. Good thing I double checked. For the year 2019, damn, Jeremy, putting me on the spot here. I would probably have to say Pacquiao because he's old and he was still beating people up through 2019. Um, I'll be honest with you, I've written him off many a times in the past, but for 2019, I think that my most standout guy who surprised me with his endurance and ability to stay at a high level in the boxing world was probably Pacquiao. I could say other names like Canelo and people like that. Uh, hold on. I could say a bunch of other names. I really like Spence. I like that Mikey Garcia went out on a limb. He still lost us, so I guess he can't be fighter of the year. But Errol Spence is probably up there as well. I also really like Canelo, of course. I know gets a lot of hate, but Canelo, and but I think I'm going to give it to Pacquiao. So this actually goes against my normal bias towards Pacquiao. I just keep writing him off. I keep thinking that this fight will be his last, and it hasn't been. So he's done surprisingly well for himself. Has a good showing. And actually, I probably will say 2019 Jeremy that it's Pacquiao because to seal the deal, he went on his Twitter yesterday or the day before, and he put two people's names. And actually, these are the two people that matter. Oh, um, Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford. I like him. So he said Terence Crawford's name, one, and then he said Errol Spence, two. So that tells me that he pretty much is on a collision course with one or the other guy. Honestly, I see those three guys as the top guys at 147. And the fact that he's actually set himself on a collision course for that, to me, means everything in the world. That is why he is the man. So, all right, cool. You agree? I like that. So that's why he's the man. Like he's gonna he. I think he is. I think he's on a suicide mission. He's literally not gonna stop until he gets knocked the f out, which I can respect. And that's how he's a legend. I mean, he's a what are you gonna say? That's it. So yeah, I like that. I really like that. Props to you, Manny Pacquiao. If you're listening, I know you will be. You might not catch the live, but I'm sure you're gonna catch the rebroadcast, Manny. So giving you your props. Okay, let's see. Gary Russell's making a comeback. He awoke from his fucking 1.5, 2 year hibernation, took his pajamas off, put on his belt, marching out to go take a fight, probably will win a decision, and then go back into his cave and hibernate for another 2 years. And Showtime allows it. So, again, if any of you guys have been following me for a couple of months, I stay shitting on Gary Russell only because of his inactivity. He is probably one of the more talented guys in boxing, but his refusal to actually show up and perform on a frequent basis makes me not like him for that reason, because I think he has more to give and he just refuses to. However, I will tune in. He is a Showtime fighter. He's a good guy to watch fight. And I feel like he plays it very safe. Same with Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz did an interview calling out Tank Davis. Oh, didn't even see that Tank Davis versus Gamboa fight 2 weeks ago. Looked kind of weird, right? Tank Davis wasn't able to make weight the first time around. Came back about an hour later, dropped the 2 or 3 pounds he needed to. And this is probably the fourth or fifth time he's got trouble making weight. The difference here is this fight was supposed to be at a higher weight class. So the issue with making weight was supposed to be eliminated because now they're not making you fight lower. You're actually moving up. So now you move up and you can't even make the higher weight, which is reminiscent of what you see with Chavez Jr. all the time as well. Anyway, that being said, he did make the weight. He fought Gamboa. He knocked Gamboa down in the first or second round. Gamboa claimed to have hurt his Achilles. He actually, to his credit, was able to survive to the 11th or 12th round, and he got knocked out right at the very end. He actually kept falling and getting up. So the fact that he's an old man and he was able to hang with Tank Davis, I don't know, man. It kind of tells me a lot. Like, was Gamboa just that tough of a fighter? Did he have that much heart? Was he that courageous? Or was Tank just really lazy and sloppy and couldn't put an old man with a broken foot away? I guess that to me is where we'll find out. So now you got Tank Davis. He's still the man, but still the man that can't make weight. And you get Leo Santa Cruz coming out of nowhere trying to call him out. So Leo, you're a big disappointment. Just as probably worse than Gary, to be honest with you, because you're Mexican and I hold you to a higher standard. So we'll see if this is the year you're going to take chances. I'm watching. That's all I'll say. So everyone else, be on the lookout. So let's see: Jojo, Diaz, Tevin Farmer, Jesse Hart, Joe Smith. Oh yeah, we talked about Pacquiao, Crawford, Spence being on a collision course 2020. That should make things pretty exciting. Andy Ruiz just bought a $5 million car. Was it 5 million or 5 million pesos? Anyway, he bought another Ferrari. He said, "I'm not buying any more cars. If I'm spending any money, it's going to be on real estate." And here he goes. He turns around and buys another car. He can do whatever he wants with his money. My point is, I don't know that he still has what it takes to actually stay disciplined. And I probably won't take him serious going forward unless he can actually prove something otherwise. So to me, Andy Ruiz is probably out of the picture. And it's Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury at the maybe top bracket, and then Ruiz and a bunch of other guys like Parker and Usyk and those guys maybe on the B-level bracket, trying to percolate their way up. So let's see. The fighter tonight, there's Clarissa Shields is fighting some European, I believe. Honestly, I'm not that into the women's fighting, but if you want to tune in, she is fighting Clarissa Shields tonight, Friday. So let's see. I talked about that. I think that's it. The last thing I was going to do is shout out my little niece who caught me doing my live broadcast on YouTube. Hello, Lucille, last time. So, and I had a new subscriber. I guess I might do a new subscriber shout out, Alex S. So maybe that'll help get my subscriber numbers out. But I'm happy and comfortable with where I'm at. And that's pretty much it. I think I could talk longer, but we're going on 25 minutes. What are we really doing? I really just wanted to bring these to your attention. I do want to talk about some dumb stuff later, but I need to sort of stagger out the topics a little further, and I guess I'll leave it as something to do later. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Larry Coyote podcast, whether you're watching live, Jeremy, or you watch the rebroadcast, which is what 90% of people do. Thanks for riding with me. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button. I guess I should remember to say that a little more often. Subscribe. And if I'm doing my job, I will do some better descriptive stuff after this is over and some hashtags. So I'll leave it at that, guys. Have a good weekend. It's Friday. Remember, tomorrow's fights are pretty good. They're worth tuning into. And we'll talk more. Have a good one. Bye.